Nearly 400 years pass, and pharaohs change over time. And it ends up that there is a pharaoh in office that when he looks out and he sees these Israelites, he has no remembrance of the friendship that was between Joseph and Pharaoh. All he can see is that these Israelites are fruitful, and they multiply, and they multiply, and they are fruitful. And he is looking out at them thinking, there are too many. He puts them in bondage and slavery because he does not want them to take over his land. And as he puts the bondage on them, it gets heavier and heavier and harder, to eventually the Israelites begin to cry out to God. God, send us a deliverer, God. Help us, God. God, we're tired. We're weary. We need you. And he raised up a child who was born in the land during the time when Pharaoh was killing all firstborn boys 2 years and younger. One set of parents guarded their baby and kept him back and kept him safe. And when they couldn't keep him guarded any longer, they placed him in the river and sent him off, trusting that God would provide. And who should draw him up out of the water but Pharaoh's very own daughter? She reached down, drew him up, and named him Moses. Moses grew up in the Egyptian Pharaoh court, knowing everything he needed to know about Egypt. He was also raised to know everything about being an Israelite. And as he grew, he was serving in the court. And one day, 2 men were having a fight. He went over to see what was going on, and in the process of stopping, he ended up killing one of them accidentally. He tried to hide it by burying it in the sand, but the next day he realized he had been caught. He was so scared that it had been found out that he had killed someone that he took off and he fled to the Midian desert to hide from what he had done. It was in the Midian desert that he ended up becoming a shepherd in Marion. And one day while he was out in the fields taking care of his flock, he looked over in the distance and he thought, well, that bush, it's burning, but it's not consumed. So he got closer and he heard, Moses, Moses. Yes, Lord? Moses, I want you to go back to Egypt and set my people free. I want them to be free to worship me. God, who would I tell them that's sending me? You will tell them that I am has sent you. And that is to be the name that is to be remembered for all generations. I kind of don't know how to talk, God. Who gave you your mouth, Moses? Moses obeyed God, and he went. And he went into Egypt and approached Pharaoh. But God wanted it known that he is the God of Moses, and he is the God of the Israelites. And he did not send Moses alone. He was with him. And there were 10 plagues that God used to reveal his presence and his power to both the nation of Israel and to the nation of Egypt. And Pharaoh, with each plague, still would not relent to release the Lord's people to go so that they could worship God until the 10th plague, when his very own firstborn son died. Go, Moses, take your people, go worship your God. Leave, take them, leave. They immediately packed up and they went to leave. The Egyptians were so excited they were leaving that they gave them their silver and gold so that they could go. But as they kept traveling, Pharaoh realized what he had done, and he sent his army after them, and they came up to the Red Sea. And the Lord parted the Red Sea for the Israelites. They crossed on dry land, and as soon as the entire nation reached the other side, and as Pharaoh's army entered into the sea, it fell upon them and washed them away. And the Israelites began to sing and dance and celebrate because God had delivered them from Egypt. And as they began their journey, walking in the wilderness, they began to forget what God had done. And eventually, they began to grumble and complain and whine and say, we were better off in Egypt. We should go back there, Moses. Well, God had to discipline them because God is a God who loves us. And this group of people were not allowed to be the ones that would enter the promised land. In fact, God raised up a whole new generation of Israelites that knew the presence of God in such a mighty way that they would see the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night, the manna on the earth and the quail falling from the sky, to where their clothes would not wear out and their shoes never needed replacing. This is the people that he was going to send in to conquer the promised land. And amongst them there was a leader that had been growing up behind Moses, and his name is Joshua.